On today's episode of the DeRaud-Messinger Show, we're previewing and predicting Mississippi State versus number one Texas. Longhorns fans, don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. It's greatly appreciated. And check us out at HornSports.com for all the latest in Texas news. Now, doing the basic game info as always, Saturday the 23rd at 3:15 p.m. Central Time at Darrell K. Royal Texas Memorial Stadium in Austin, Texas, televised on SEC Network this time. It was a little upgrade there. The Longhorns are favored by roughly 38.5 points. Of course, the line moves depending on when you check on it. But Dylan, getting into the scouting report, how are you feeling about the Mississippi State Bulldog offense?
Yeah, it's seen better days, Devon. This season, in terms of the passing game, when they had Blake Shapen to start this season, him and offensive coordinator Kevin Barbe, they were sitting at 268 and a half pass yards per game, number 36 in the country. But they're also only scoring 31 points per game, Devon. And a lot of it has to do with they just haven't found much of a rhythm. It's felt like specifically in the run game, they've got 133.3 rush yards per game, sitting at 97th in the country. And currently, they've got two running backs that seen, or better yet, three running backs that seen majority of the carries. They've got Penn State transfer Kayvon Lee, who's got 140 rush yards on the season. Johnny Daniels, 158, and then Davon Booth, another transfer, who's got 133 yards as well, Devin. So it's something they haven't really been able to get going. And to make matters worse, they're going to be without Blake Shapen in this game. That he's going to be out for the season with a shoulder injury. So they've got freshman QB Michael Van Buren starting. Now he's
But
going to be at
presidential, presidential name. I mean, that's got to be a factor somehow, Dylan.
yes.
You have a Van
No,
Buren
he
starting. It's been centuries
mhm.
since America's had a Van Buren starting. But anyway, go ahead.
Yes. Yeah, and he runs faster than probably every president ever, right? So he's got that going for him. But when it comes to the passing game, that's going to be, I think, the biggest thing for Van Buren going into this game and how he's going to be able to handle Texas pressure because they're going to want to take away the running lanes for him to escape and scramble. So it's going to come down to his receivers, the junior transfer wide receiver Kevin Coleman, Jordan Mosley, Northwestern transfer at wide receiver, and the freshman wide receiver Mario Craver as well. Devin has got 8 receptions, 192 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So he's an explosive play threat going into this game. Craver is, but outside of that, this Mississippi State team with their offensive coordinator Barbe, they've just struggled to find a rhythm. They've had some tough losses against Florida, specifically last week, and it's just the team entering SEC play or going into the second game in SEC play, just not in the best shape. Then
Yeah, and Dylan, Jeff Lebby, their head coach, is very offensive minded. And so it is interesting to see them struggling out the gate. However, Mississippi State, of course, not in terms of the SEC, the upper echelon of that conference, usually fighting for a little middle ground, if you will. In this season, the middle ground just hasn't been there so far. Of course, still early, so we'll see if things change. But Dylan, I propose a theory that continues to live on in these videos. When a
Mhm.
safety leads the team in tackles, the said team does not do too well. Now, in this case, sophomore Isaac Smith is leading the Bulldogs in tackles with 51. However, the Bulldogs are 1-3. So the theory continues to live on. It's really undefeated, if you will. So
Mhm.
it's funny. It's talking about not great teams, but the theory itself is undefeated. So there is a little silver lining in that. Jokes aside, while we're talking about Mississippi State trying to find ground, it has been tough for them defensively. Smith, with that 51 tackles, not a good number for a team to have, but that shows that when the guys do get to the secondary, Dylan, hey, kudos to Smith. He's making a tackle when need be. The secondary as a whole, though, just not doing too stellar. However, also kind of middle ground as well. They're 64th in the nation in passing yards allowed with about 200 per game, which yet again is pretty much right down the middle in terms of the country's standings. And furthermore, they've only forced one interception so far this season. Now, we're going to see the quarterback for the Longhorns, whether it be Arch Manning continuing to be just healthy, the healthy option, Dylan, or whether Quinn Ewers gets the nod here off of the injury. It wouldn't surprise me, though, if Sark decides to hold him out an extra week. And then I believe, Dylan, the Longhorns have the bye week, and then it's Oklahoma. So if you hold him out this weekend, a lot of resting for that injury. However, either way, efficiency is always the name of the game at the quarterback position, and Mississippi State has been allowing their quarterbacks to be fairly efficient as a defense. Now, Dylan, to not continue this grill fest, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but the Bulldogs' defensive front has been worse than the secondary. 123rd in the nation in rushing yards allowed. 123rd. There are 133 capable and willing teams in college football. 123rd is not too great. They've only tallied 3 sacks so far. It's just not a hot start yet again for this Mississippi State defense. Stone Blanton is the leader at the linebacker position. Dylan, were you trying to jump in there? I saw a little moment
No,
right there.
Devin.
Yeah.
It's just a lot. It's a lot to take in for Mississippi State when it comes to this is the SEC opener for Texas, and it's an SEC team that is definitely struggling going into it, like you're saying.
Yeah. And Dylan, in years past, this game would be something that the Longhorns, I wouldn't say aren't ready for. It's just their mind isn't in the right place, and they're favored by a lot. They come in, they struggle for 3 quarters before they pull it away. This team, though, I mentioned, I believe in the last video, mentally seems to be different, and it's the John Wick mentality that they love to preach all the time. I'm not too worried right now about how Mississippi State fares against the Longhorns, but it wouldn't surprise me either with a new quarterback in and just a bad loss to Florida, whether they're a little more motivated, of course, in Texas' first SEC game. But overall, Blanton, the second leading tackler, 32 tackles. Just not a crazy performance so far to rehash this whole defense. Just not a crazy performance to start the year. So, Dylan, we're going to get into the X factors here. What's needed to be done?
Well, getting Michael Van Buren comfortable in the pocket and in this game, I think is going to be the number one thing. I don't have the X, I mean, as the X factor, but it's going to tie in Devin in a long-winded answer here. But on the O-line
Oh, gosh.
for Mississippi State, they've allowed 13 sacks. That's 122nd in the country, Devin, right? Allowed. So they've struggled to provide protection for Shapen. Now Van Buren is coming in, and they're going up against the Texas D-line that has been able to get to the quarterback pretty much at will and stifle most running attacks, right? So a lot is going to come into this game with quick throws, quick reads, getting the ball out fast in order to take away that pressure that Texas is going to be wanting to send the house at Van Buren with. And I think the big X factor for me is going to be freshman wide receiver Mario Craver. It's going to be probably Mississippi State's best receiver in space when it comes to his speed and just general agility, right? So getting him involved early with the ball to make things happen one-on-one, him and the other receivers, it's going to be on them to take that pressure off of Van Buren in this game and call off the dogs a bit for Texas so they can't just be sending 6 or 7 guys.
Did
and
you
just
mention
forcing
Anthony Hill Jr.
Van Buren.
there?
He is one of the feral dogs, Devin, that tends to get loose in these type of games.
The cage
So
dog, yeah.
hopefully Mississippi State has taken their rabies shots going into this, but it's gonna be a long day with him and Colin Simmons just pinning their ears back and being released from the cage.
Dylan, I think to protect Mississippi State here, you need to reference a certain SpongeBob episode where you have to have a certain oval drawn around you, and you have to have a certain.
Oh, we're going in deep here.
And you have to have a certain underpants on too, because
Yes,
those dogs of Texas have been hungry and they haven't been fed. So it's not a good combo, Dylan. They're just, as he said, rabid dogs. Anthony Hill Jr., he's the cage dog. He's been let out of the cage.
Do you think?
Yes, go ahead.
Do you think he starves himself on Saturday? Do you think he just does he fasts in the morning, being like, you know what, my food will come after
will be bringing down the quarterback. You know,
yeah.
I don't know if that's the best strategy for football. However, mentally, I think that would give you an edge. So if he's not already, maybe we should let him know. But Dylan, the Cage Dog, and Anthony Hill Jr. just continues to be dominant. He also showcased the hands with interception last weekend.
Yeah.
The other dog on that front has been Colin Simmons, the freshman. He's also seemingly not been fed because he just has a voracious appetite on every play.
Yeah.
But Dylan, the other joke I
Yeah.
was going to make lastly, I know, I'm sorry, guys. Van Buren, he's going to need the Secret Service to protect him in this one
Uh,
because it has not been pretty, as you mentioned.
well, sadly, Devin, this O-line is kind of like the secondary Secret Service that was protecting Trump on that fateful day. So it's gonna be a long day for Van Buren. They're gonna know what's coming for him, and I don't know if the block
Well, Dylan, you can only try your hardest. My X
blocking is
Factor
still
I've
gonna
got
happen.
in this one, Jadon Blue. Dylan, Jadon Blue, he's still here. He's Texas's boy. The whole state roots for this man. 4 touchdowns, cuatro against ULM, and he's going to be even more relied on this weekend in the SEC matchup. It's not, no disrespect to ULM. It's the big leagues. Even if it's not a top caliber team, he's going to have a heavy dosage, especially as Sark tries to weigh the options of trying to get Arch to have some efficient throws and not taking too many shots downfield with some complementary runs. I think Blue's going to have another big performance just based off what I said about Mississippi State earlier in the video, that they're 123rd in the country in rushing yards allowed. So watch Blue in this game. If he's being stifled, of course, the weight of the game will be on the quarterback's shoulders for the Longhorns. So just stay tuned to that. Now, Dylan, we're going danger level here. I'm not sensing it from you. What are you going with?
I've got a two. Got a two in this. It's not a one because it is SEC play. There's added stakes here. Mississippi State still has. They've been in the SEC for a while. Devin is what I'm trying to say. They have experience in these situations. They've gone up against teams akin to Texas. Now, have they beat them? No, but they know what they're going up against, and it's different than the Sun Belt teams that Texas has faced so far, or Conference USA, right? So it's going to be a different matchup. And still in the air, who starts? I think Manning would be the right choice to start in this game. So Ewers does have that bye week, is rested up, going against an Oklahoma defense that has been playing well this season. It's just the offense that struggled. So having Ewers healthy for that game would be important. So I'd expect Manning to start, and that just adds another layer in this matchup because Mississippi State has just in general just struggled to find a rhythm. They just don't looking at their team, they don't match up well against Texas. I mean, if you're going to beat Texas, you have to have a strong offensive line, and you've got to be able to spread the ball around and put pressure on the secondary and get these linebackers to have to play zone coverage or play man on tight ends or running backs off the side. And they're not just running at your quarterback all game, right? So I just don't think Texas is going to be getting that in this matchup against Mississippi State with a quarterback that is being thrown into the fire here. Still needs to find some confidence throwing the ball, and it just feels like it's set up to be a long day for Mississippi State of just running around and really where any sort of upset chance kind of comes into this is if they win the turnover battle and they're able to move the ball efficiently and keep Manning or Ewers on the sideline for most of the game.
Dylan, I'm not gonna refute, but I will counter one of the points you made about the Longhorns. Now we'll see what Sark does in terms of the quarterbacks. I wouldn't be surprised if he just kind of keeps it close to his chest until Saturday. But yet again, we'll see. He's usually fairly transparent, as a coach can be, I guess, or as much as they can be. But if
Yes.
if I'm Sark and if Ewers is a capable body, Dylan, I'm putting him out there. Now I'm saying, of course, rested enough to where the injury concern is not that big of an issue. Correct? Injuries are a thing in football, so you can't prevent them entirely. But you have to be prepared for him to be playing against Oklahoma when the time comes to that. I know he's going to have another bye week, but you want some of that rust to be knocked off before a big rivalry game. However, with an extra bye week in between those two games, it also would make sense on your end to just rest him up for that game against Oklahoma. And I believe, Dylan, he did that a year or two ago. Came off an injury and just made the return against Oklahoma and did his thing. The rest wasn't there, but it's not always the case. But anyway, back to danger level. I hate to agree with you. It happens not too
But you
often.
are.
You're almost better off waiting for a solar eclipse, honestly, guys. But I'm going to go 2 on the danger level scale here. Mississippi State 1-3 to start the season. Not too great. The team has lacked identity offensively, Dylan. Blake Shapen, of course, an injury to him just does not help Jeff Lebby's squad. But in a weird, ironic way, maybe now this is a chance for them to find that identity in Austin. You don't have a lot of things going for you. Even if they end up losing this game, Dylan, if they walk away with some sort of self-identification that they can get behind, that's a win for
I
them.
like this take. Getting beat so bad that you find yourself within the darkness. I like this take. That feels like that's what you're hinting at right now.
This is good for personal life too, yes, but Dylan,
Sometimes you got to hit rock bottom to move forward. And
they
Mississippi
might
State, Devon's calling that.
they might hit rock bottom here. It has not been pretty, but yet again, Dylan, there might be a takeaway for them in this game, even if it does not end up how they would like it to be. Now we're gonna go predictions here. I'm expecting a big difference from you in terms of your overall score prediction, not you and me. What are you going with?
Yeah. So with Texas, I like their win against ULM because it showed that they can beat you in a multiple different ways. It's funny to me. I feel like with Sark, he wants to have a duo of running back, right? He wants to change a pace back, mix it in, different drives. Yet just injuries pile up, and he's forced to have to go with CJ Baxter after Jonathan Brooks goes out, or in this case, he's got to go with Jadon Blue because CJ Baxter's out, and the guys behind him are just getting banged up constantly, right? So Jadon Blue's got to come in and be the workhorse back, and he was up to the part last week, and I feel like it opens up Texas offense even more going into this game because you're just accounting for Manning or yours is not enough, and then we're talking about their offensive weapons in the receiving core, right? So there's just a multitude of ways that Texas can beat you, and Mississippi State has struggled to just find any sort of rhythm. Again, I know I'm saying rhythm a lot, but on the defensive end and on the offensive end, and it's just going to be death by 1,000 cuts going into this one. And just I find it hard to believe, Devin, they're going to string a good amount of drives in against Texas, who's just playing just very well, right? And that's almost an understatement, being the number one team in the country. So I got Texas winning this 45-7. It's going to be a big day as a C opener, but just with how Texas has been playing, and on the heels of what happened to Oklahoma last week, feels like we're going to have two different teams going into that Red River rivalry match, and I'm excited.
Yeah, Dylan, I'm not going to hide my, prediction or score pick behind all of the mumbo jumbo. I got 48-10 Texas. Now, I'm going to take your mumbo jumbo, which was good mumbo jumbo. I'm just joking.
Thank you.
I'm giving some praise. I know, rare. I'm going to go on top of that. Mississippi State's defense has not been great so far this year. Texas offense will be the best offense Mississippi State has played so far this year. When you add those 2 points together, it's just not a winning formula for the Bulldogs. Additionally, that Mississippi State offense led by Michael Van Buren now has not looked too great. Now, of course, Van Buren can't take all the credit there. He's just thrown into the spotlight. But the Texas defense, we have not given them a lot of love other than talking about Anthony Hill Jr. and Colin Simmons. The secondary, Dylan, Texas has a secondary? Now, it might be early. I apologize if I made that point too early. But
So they got to play a team that can throw the ball first. I don't think they've had that in the schedule.
Dylan, throwing the ball is overrated. That's so 2023. Get with the age. Just Mississippi State, if you're going to throw the ball, Dylan, now's the chance to do it, right? I mean, the cloud, I guess, or veneer of a good secondary, it could just come undone, but I don't know, Dylan. The passing opponents have not been there, but SEC plays here, so we're going to see if this is the real deal for the Longhorns in the secondary. But I will give praise so far. The secondary's been great. The just front has been pretty solid as well. They've been getting home. They've been getting pressure. And that's, of course, what you want from this defense. So overall, Just a lot of things going right for the Longhorns. Unfortunately, if you're a Bulldogs fan, not a lot of things going right in your direction at this point in time. However, it's college football, Dylan. That's the beauty of it. You never know what's going to happen on Saturday. I do have Texas winning 48-10, and we'll see how many times Smokey the Cannon goes off. Dylan, it might not be the greatest game if you're an away fan. However, it will be a great, entertaining game, I think, for Longhorns fans, but you never know. What's your score prediction for this game? Let us know down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Check us out at hornsports.com. And as always, have a great rest of your day.